This video tutorial is going to cover how to create shift templates specifically for hourly based positions. If your position is hourly based, you'll be able to see it listed on the right hand side next to the name of the position that is loaded. It should say hour based, and this means that you are watching the correct video and you're going to want to watch this video in order to learn how to create your shift templates. This fitness attendant position is loaded because this is the root position in the top left corner here. If you want to choose to see some other positions in their shift templates or need to see multiple positions at one time, you can always go and add in extra positions and hit load position, and those would come up. But for right now, we're going to focus on my fitness attendant position. Now, availability in the hourly based system is collected on an open calendar, and your staff will be dragging and dropping and telling you when they're going to be able to work. Creating shift templates, however, is still very helpful for when you're auto-generating a schedule. It's going to directly reference the shifts that are listed here, as well as when you are manually creating shifts on a calendar, you're going to be able to easily populate those and add staff to those shifts. So to get started, you'll go to the right-hand side and click on Add New Shift, and then you're going to need to create a position. Or you need to select a position. So for here, we're going to select the fitness attendant position, and keep in mind that it's actually showing you which positions are shift-based and which are hourly-based. And there's another video for shift-based, so if you're trying to create a shift template for those, make sure you watch that one as well. Next up, you're going to choose whether the shift template is active, and if you're going to be using this to generate a schedule, you'll want to keep this as active. Shift name is going to be super important. So if you're going to have multiple locations within the same position group, you're going to want to make sure that location name is here in the shift name. And you want to make this a descriptive title so that your staff knows exactly what kind of shift they're working. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's a morning shift, and it is at Smith Hall. From here, you can also pick a color to show up on the calendar. So if you want these types of shifts to be a certain color, you can choose those as well. I'm going to make mine yellow for morning. And the next option here is for the shift time. So it's what time do you want this shift template to be? Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. The first is to just go ahead and create this as your normal shift time. So if your shift times are, for instance, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and those don't change, those stay the same all the time, you might want to just go ahead and make the shift template for that entire shift. However, if your staff's hours change greatly, so maybe one day you'll have a 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift, and then maybe the next shift is 9 a.m. to 11:30, and it kind of depends on their availability and what they put in, you might want to consider doing smaller blocks of time here. Find out what are the minimum amount of time that somebody would want to come in, or you'd want somebody to come in to work that shift, and space out the shift templates in that block of time throughout the day. So if I wouldn't want anybody to come in for lower than an hour, so an hour is the minimum amount of time, and my operation is open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I would basically go and I would make 1 hour shift blocks for 7 a.m. to 8, 8 a.m. to 9, and 9 a.m. to 10. And after we go through and create this shift, I'll show you what that looks like on a completed template. Next up will be the shift note. So in the shift note, you're going to be able to put here anything that you'd want your staff to know or to see about this specific shift. And anytime you create this template, they're going to see this note. So since this is a morning shift, I'm going to say get key from lockbox. Next up is the shift splitting option. So for more information about what exactly this does, feel free to hover over on this question mark. It will actually break it down for you exactly what some of these functions do. For shift splitting, basically this is only for hourly based positions if you're collecting availability on an hourly basis. And it's going to basically split a larger block of time. So it's going to take your shift template that you put in, and if nobody can fill that entire time, it's going to go ahead and cut that in half, and then you're going to be able, and then it's going to try to fill that half shift. So if your operation was open from 8 a.m. to noon, you would put in 8 a.m. to noon as your shift time, and if nobody could work that entire time, the system would automatically cut it in half to be 8 a.m. to 10 and 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. shifts, and it would try to find those. And if it couldn't there, then it would cut the ones that it couldn't find in half again and try to go from there. So that's what shift splitting does. If you want to enable this, you'll need to have check this box here, and then put in the minimum length and the maximum length. If you are putting in a larger amount of time, like your entire day, so you're putting in a shift template for 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is a 12-hour day, and you want to go ahead and go in and use a shift splitting feature for that function. Keep in mind that if their maximum shift daily maximum amount of hours is less than that total amount, nobody would ever get scheduled for that whole shift. So if it was a 12-hour day you needed to cover, and you needed to go ahead and you wanted to do shift splitting, but their max hours per day is 8, nobody would ever get that 12-hour shift because it's too long for everybody's daily maxes. And you can adjust daily and weekly maxes for amount of hours in a week on the Manage Availability page, which will be under Availability Settings and right here. Okay, next we're going to create as a task. If we hover over the question mark here, creating as a task is not an actual shift. It's a task that happens during a shift. So tasks can actually overlap with a current shift on the calendar. And what this will basically do is if an employee is scheduled to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but you want to make sure they go to a 3 p.m. meeting, you might have them scheduled as 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the calendar for an actual shift, but then have that task on the calendar for 3 p.m. to remind them that they need to go to that meeting. Please keep in mind that this is not a regular shift. Tasks cannot be used in the time clock, so you cannot clock in and out of tasks, and they don't appear in payroll or time clock reports. So it's mostly a way just to put it on the schedule so your staff are aware of some different tasks they need to do throughout their day. Next up, we have the GL code here, and GL codes can be loaded on the left-hand side all the way down underneath apps. So if you scroll down to apps, you'll be able to load GL codes under here. And you can just, anything that you've loaded previously, you can go ahead and attach here. So if you have a code that needs to show up on your payroll reports and you want that to come out for every time for this specific shift, you can load that in right here. Rate adjustment is if this specific shift has a different pay rate than the employee would normally make. So they have some options here. And this is generally used for, let's say, somebody working a very early morning or an overnight shift or something like that, and they get paid extra for that specific shift because it's at an off hour. That's what this is used for. And there's 4 different ways to do this. So you can either add on to their hourly rate, so an extra $1 or $2 per hour, whatever it may be. You can give them a percentage, so it's going to give them a percentage above their hourly rate. Or you can do a multiplication of. So let's say they're getting time and a half or double time. That is something that you're going to be able to choose here. Or a flat rate. So this specific shift gets paid a flat rate. It doesn't matter what you have loaded in your pay rates under the staff page. So for this shift, I'm going to go ahead and choose the multiplication, and they're going to get time and a half for this shift. Lastly, you'll need to choose how many people you need to work for each day of the week. So this position is Monday through Friday for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in 1 for each day, Monday through Friday. I'm not going to put anything in. I'm going to leave it as 0 for Saturday and Sunday. And then I need to make on the left side and make everybody active. I need to make all these days active here. And it would tell the system how many people are needed to work at this specific time. After this, you'll go ahead and hit save. And you can X out at the top right. And you're going to be able to see this shift template that we've created. So here, you're going to be able to see the rate adjustment here. This icon is telling you what that rate adjustment is. So it's just letting you know this is not a normal shift. There is extra pay associated with it. And then if you have a shift template that allows shift splitting, this is going to denote that here as well. And it's just going to tell you your start time, your end time, shift lengths, total shifts, and then how many for each day of the week. Now, if you need to create a lot of different shift templates here, if you need to create a lot, you can go and you can click on the Duplicate Shift Template tab, which is on the far right, and you can choose your position. So you can actually duplicate this to another position if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and just keep on with fitness attendant. And my next shift is actually going to be more of an afternoon shift. And it's going to ask if you want to create as a task. I do not, and then I'm going to hit duplicate. So now this has been created with the new name, and the only thing that's not copied over is the rate adjustment. So if you want to go in and add in that rate adjustment again, you can go do that right here in the Edit Template tab. And let's say this one I do want to add in my rate adjustment. I can always go back and re-add it here, and I can also go in and change the time. So this is an afternoon shift, so this is going to be my 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. shift. Everything else is the same, one person Monday through Friday, and save. Now here it's going to ask you anytime you edit a shift template, it's going to ask you if you want what you want to do with future shifts. So whether that's leaving them as is, any future shift templates will stay as is. They will not make these changes you are making here on the shift template page or update the future shifts. So this was originally a 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift, and I changed it to 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Do you want those future shifts that are already on the calendar to be changed to reflect this? So that's the decision that you're going to have to make. For me, I'm going to say leave them as is, and those changes have been made. So next up, I'm going to show you what what a fully built out shift template page would look like. So here is the hourly time blocks that I was listed. So 1 hour is the minimum amount of time that somebody can work, and I have going here 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And if I can order this by start time. As you can see, they're broken out into 1 hour blocks here. So this is just going to give you some more flexibility. And when the algorithm actually, when you generate a schedule utilizing the algorithm, it's going to specifically look for people to work back to back to back shifts. If you do these smaller blocks of time, the algorithm is going to take that into account for you. Down below for front desk supervisor, so this is where if you have 2 different locations. So I have identical shift templates, but in 2 different locations. You'll need to build out specific templates for each location. So as you can see, I have early morning for north and south, morning for north and south. I have everything is a duplicate of one another. It is just here for 2 locations. Now, when you're first building this out, when you first have your account, this may be a little tedious. You might need to go through and create a lot of different shifts, and that's totally okay. But once you do this, and once you have these shift templates created, it's going to be super easy from there for you to go ahead and auto-generate schedules after you've collected availability, manually put in shifts on the calendar. It's going to make things a lot easier if these are accurate and set up in the system. If you need to search for specific shift templates, you have a lot of them. You can always search here, and it's just going to pull up the specific templates that you want to see. If you want to see specific templates for multiple positions, you can do that here as well. Last but not least, I want to point out on the left-hand side the status of each of these shift templates. So right now, all of these are active, but if I decide to uncheck these, they will be grayed out and they are now inactive. And if they're inactive, then you're not going to be able to utilize these shift templates in order to, when you're auto-generating a schedule. So these will not be active. You'll not be able to easily reference these on the calendar as well. So we're gonna have another video that's right down below here. And in that video, it's gonna show what the impacts are of having different shift templates active and inactive, and how that could impact your schedule when you actually do generate a schedule. And that was how to create shift templates for an hourly based position. As always, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to our support team. You can email us at support@subitup.com or give us a call at 617-401-8733. Our office hours are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks so much.